With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details. With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
He's still alive. Shoot! Come on, I got him. What do you call this thing? Why, something from the dinosaur family. Dinosaur, eh? Yes, Jack. A prehistoric beast. Say, just look at the length of that brute. If I could only bring back one of these alive.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network, a weekly podcast discussing movie news, reviews, and recommendations. We just heard a clip from 1933's King Kong, a tie-in to this week's theme of Prehistoric Adventures. We'll be offering up some more movie recommendations from this genre later on in the show. I am Nathan Schur, and with me as always are Sam Cole, and filling in this week is Mark Krawczyk. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Cheers. Greetings. Hello.
All right. So, Mark, welcome to the show. It's nice to have you filling in. I hope Ellie doesn't get too jealous that we have a seasoned podcaster joining us this week. And I will say I'm a fan. I've been following you for quite some time. You've got a couple outlets, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how long have you been doing this? Because you've got several places where you are podcasting, and I think you're quite prolific. So give us a little bit of background on yourself, please do.
Sure. I started out in 2006 on YouTube, carrying over a movie review show that I initially did on student television on campus in the 90s. And it got the bug from there. I also started a web series called Lonely Trooper at the time, which was, I took my 1977 Stormtrooper action figure and did a vlog of him trying to get promoted. And I took him through the original trilogy with different crazy little 2-minute segments. And then I started doing a lot more movie reviews. Been there now. This is our 17th year of the Final Cut. And then podcasting about 10 years ago, I started doing podcasting with some friends, tried it myself back in the Google Hangout days. Let me tell you, you think you got it rough now. You don't have it rough now. Google Hangout was, oh man, was that a headache? But it was the only thing, and it was free at the time, and you're working on no budget. Hey, and I've been doing I got the podcasting bug, and we're celebrating our 10th year now. Started doing a web page where you could find all my links for everything. I do everything under the specialmarkproductions.com website, where there's links there. And I've branched out. You're absolutely right. I don't ever, I'm horrible at this because I never think back of all the things that I work on or have done over the years, because I just keep plowing through and going forward. But I do written reviews for We Live Entertainment. I've been doing that for about 8 years. I also do some written reviews on my own channel. I did for a while on another podcast do the Movie Man's Movie Minute, which I now do on TikTok. I've been doing that for about 2 years, to where I review a wide release film in 1 minute. And
I like that.
And it's gathered steam. And part of the reason
you could
for
probably
that,
learn from that, Sam, huh?
part of the motivation for that was the fact that I'm in the middle of Wisconsin, so I'm the farthest away from any press screening. And as the YouTube reviewiverse, as I call it, expanded and grew, a lot of the YouTubers grew because they could go to press screenings, get early releases, release their reviews 2 days earlier than everyone else. So by the time I ever got to reviewing, everybody's seen the reviews already. So I decided, why put so much time into it? So I do 1 minute wide release reviews on TikTok for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now. And I got about 1,300 followers there. So it's something, but I've done interviews as well. I've got interviews on my website, the specialmarkproductions.com. I've interviewed everyone from Patty Mullen of Frankenhooker, Fred Olin Ray. I've gotten to interview just a lot of people. The most that I've had to interview is Catherine Mary Stewart from Last Starfighter and Night of the Comet. She's been on the show 3 times now.
That is awesome. By the way, I love The Last Starfighter. The Last Starfighter is amazing. Yeah.
The Last Starfighter is amazing. I love The Last Starfighter. And
that's the most uplifting, just fun.
Right?
You can't, anyone that doesn't like that film, that's fine. That's their opinion, but you have to have a heart of stone not to like The Last Starfighter. Who comes out of that movie and is like, it's terrible. It's amazing.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my spiel. I have the one website which has links to everything. I always dabble. I probably could be. I always tell people I probably could be a bit bigger if I stayed to one lane, but that's just not how I work. I creatively I do a lot of different things because I enjoy a lot of different things, and and for me, I'm having fun doing it. I do a lot more indie films. Over the last 10 years now, I've been doing a lot more indie film focus, micro budget, festival type films. I've been doing that ever since there was a festival here in Oshkosh, 11 years ago now. My friend said, "Hey, did you know there's a film festival in Wisconsin?" And I'm like, "It's Wisconsin. We have film festivals." So I went there. Met a lot of people. Some of them have become very good friends, best friends. And that kind of launched me into rethinking my channel. And rather than keeping up with all the other YouTubers out there, I just kind of picked my own genre and started focus on indie stuff. And I have met so many creative people and gotten an opportunity to talk to so many folks that, it's fun. And I am very fortunate. And like I said, I'm horrible at thinking about all the things that I have done, but to the point where I didn't even realize it. But I hope you guys don't mind. But they can't see this on the podcast, but I got a trophy last year from the Twisted Dreams Film Festival. It's an actual spinal column that was all made up with makeup effects. They put a little eye on the front of it and put it in a beer stein because Wisconsin.
Yes.
And so the Twisted Dream Film Fest, it was the award for the backbone of horror because I covered for at least 10 years indie horror, especially Midwest indie horror. So, but we've got a number of film festivals, not many horror film festivals. We got the Twisted Dreams Film Festival, what is now called the Sawdust City Fright Fest horror festival, which I'm actually involved in. I'm a committee on. There used to be a Madison Madtown Horror Fest. I was involved in that for a while as well. I've been asked to judge on a few horror festivals in the past as well, which has always been fun. And all that just stemmed from me talking about indie films and that, knowing that I probably wouldn't get the most views necessarily, but that was fine with me because I love spreading the word about indie cinema and indie films. I think they need more support, especially nowadays. There's so much great stuff out there being done by not studios that, you know.
Oh yeah, and you're also creating a niche too with your channel, you know, and so the viewership rises. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and they're mostly most of the filmmakers and that are far more accessible if you want to maybe get them on your podcast or whatnot. You can usually work something out. You know, I'm not that guy though that keeps bugging people either, but if I run across a film that I find particularly interesting, I'll see if the filmmaker is interested in interviewing. You know, I don't do a lot of interviews, but if I do an interview, it's because I want to talk to that person.
Do you think, could you get Steven Spielberg on this podcast? That'd be amazing.
Probably not. But there
I
are
understand. Yeah.
There are. I highly doubt it. Like I did get Fred Olin Ray. I was very happy with that.
Hey, that's awesome.
And Patrick Reed Johnson, who just came out with a wonderful film. It was like 15 years he was working on it. It was 5/25/77. He's like one of the first people outside when he was a kid outside of ILM. He was one of the first outside people to actually see the Star Wars stuff, like see them working on the special effects stuff, the starships,
that's amazing.
And everything. That was when he was a kid, he got that opportunity. And this is kind of a coming of age story, similar to the Fabelmans, although I like this one better, and not just because I'm a Star Wars geek, mind you. Right. But it's out, and it's a really good. If you're a geek at all, a movie geek, or you know, just a Star Wars fan, it is a wonderful film. But I got to talk to him a number of years ago when he was first still working on it and trying to get it out there, to talk to him about Space Invaders. The the movie.
Yes, I have a bad memory of that because I saw it in the theater with a bloody nose and I was a little kid, so I had to like hold my head up and it kept on bleeding the whole time. So I sort of saw the movie, but I was more kind of out of it. But I do remember it, 1990, I believe.
Yeah, in 1990, because on the podcast we started to do. I came up with this idea that doing a special series, and it was just going to be the 1 year, to where each month we have a specific episode that fits the theme for the year. And that year it was 25th anniversary. So each month we made sure to watch and review and talk about one film from 1990 back when I came out with it. So this was in 2014. So yeah. And then I would try to interview someone involved in that movie. And then it just carried on from there. I kept doing specials, and now, this is our 8th year doing a special. We've done Welcome to Cronenberg, where each month we looked at a Cronenberg movie. Cool. This year is the we call it a perfect 10 year because it's our 10th anniversary. So we're looking at films that were celebrating their 10th anniversary as well. So
this is great, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you we'll be bringing to our discussion later on this week's review. But let's move the show along a little bit here and get into our weekly watches, where we discuss what we've been watching over the last week. Let's see. Sam, why don't you lead us off with this?
So the honest truth of what happened to me this week, and I'm going to zero in on one particular film, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I bumped into a lot of pieces of movies on HBO in between work. But so if you want me to discuss the like final battle in Master and Commander, I've seen that about 4 times since Tuesday.
Wait, you just watched Master and Commander, didn't you?
I know, but when I sit there and again, it just sucks me in. It's the nautical like British world of it's like I want to be a captain, you know. But like
Peter Weir is a genius.
He's amazing. But the one movie that I did watch this week that I do like this movie. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure. It was somewhat negatively reviewed. I enjoy it. It's called Jumper with Hayden Christensen.
Yes.
And directed by Doug Liman. And the reason I like it is because he
don't
gets these
like that movie. I don't know why.
I I've always enjoyed it because he gets this superpower of being able to teleport, but he's not heroic about it. He's like a regular guy. He's like, oh, I'm going to like jump into a bank vault and steal money, and I'm going to travel a lot and like play a lot of video games and jump all over the world. And so I like that his character is not like an iconic hero. And I enjoy the film, and the climax does kind of devolve into a special effects show where the plot just falls away and they're like flashing around and cars are falling into like the desert in front of the Sphinx. So it gets a little ridiculous, but I do enjoy the movie. I like Jumper. Yeah.
I don't remember if the climax, I don't think it's an 11-year-old movie, so I don't think this is giving away anything. Doesn't they film part of this in the Roman Colosseum or something like that? They got special permission, and they've never given that permission to a studio or a film before. And this was, I remember this was a story like 10 years ago or so, and this was a huge deal.
Right. It was a big deal because they actually filmed in the Colosseum, but in the catacombs below where they would keep like gladiators and lions and all that stuff. What made
them so special to get this access?
I have no idea. It was probably bling, bling, bling. I'm guessing.
It was either some money because they wanted to restore some things, or somebody knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy who, but it was most likely money.
It was. And the cool thing though that I love about that movie is I think it has a record number of like second unit shots because a lot of the shots where they're in like London for a second, or he like jumps to some, like they traveled all over the world and just filmed all over the place. And it gives that movie a cool feel. And I like the visual effects. I like the style. I think it appeals to me because I want that power myself. And if I could teleport, it would be amazing. Imagine as a filmmaker, you could just jump to like, I'm going to film the sunrise here, jump back, like jump all over the world. Like you could the things you could accomplish on a micro budget because you don't have to travel. You can just teleport. It's amazing.
It's fascinating. You reference this as a superhero movie, and it really is. This came out in 2008, probably just months before the original Iron Man. So this was really a superhero movie before it became like a thing. So that's
and it has cool production
Doug Liman
value.
directed this.
I enjoy it.
About that.
He did direct it, and he gives it his like Doug Liman fast paced kind of edgy style. I would say the one setback is the script and its characterizations of like the villain organization is really simplistic. Like Samuel L. Jackson is like, I hate jumpers. And they're like, why? He's like, because they're evil. It's like, well, can I need a little bit more explanation than that? But it's like a little, the script is a little like half-witted at times, but I still enjoy it. I would give it a solid B+. Jumpers worth a second viewing for sure.
I agree. I would like to see that again. Yeah.
It's fun. It's a fun movie. I've watched it a few times over the years. Not great, but it is interesting. And especially seeing some of the cast who have gone on to do bigger things. It's fun watching them in their earlier, big budget films, like one of their first big budget films. It's always fun to watch that,
Exactly. And that's the perfect description. It's not great, but it is fun. It's a fun movie. That's why I have fun watching it. Yeah. That's why I like it. Yeah.
All right. Is that going to be your one entry for this week, Sam?
That's my one entry this time. It's all pieces besides that this particular week.
Okay. All right. Mark, anything you want to mention this week?
I just got 6 reviews I posted. I've watched a lot.
Toss in like one or two.
I'll toss out a couple. Enter the Dragon is a film that was made by the guy who made Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. It's out of Canada, in Ottawa. I got a chance to interview him as well. And Enter the Dragon tells of the drag queen, part-time private investigator Crunch, who along with their friend Jaws, they investigate small crimes, but they end up getting involved in this very big crime that involves a map to a treasure that has a mummy who's creating a zombie army, while they take on supervillains who include a cyborg, someone with poisoned breasts, and a guy with a very interesting disfigurement of his toes.
That old chestnut.
it's got Lloyd Kaufman in it. He, of course, because he's everywhere when there's a crazy movie. But it's not a trauma film. It is not a trauma film, but it is trauma-esque. It's definitely for select tastes. But if you could open your mind a bit, and if you're open to that type of humor, it's a lot of crude humor, exploitation stuff, but everybody's having fun. And yeah, it's playing in Canada theaters right now, select theaters, so it's not out on streaming, but it's called Enter the Dragon. And if you're wondering what kind of humor is in it, check out Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter, and you will see.
So this is in theaters now. This is like a 2023 new.
Yeah,
movie.
this is Enter the Dragons at select theaters in Canada. It's playing, and he's packing the house with them.
Mark, did you travel to Canada to see this?
No, I got a screen. I was fortunate.
A screener. All right.
I was fortunate to get a digital screener. Although,
nice.
If I had the money, it would definitely be worth going to see it with a live audience, because I'm sure that's a blast. Oh yeah, it's a musical as well. So
wow!
Because so was Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. That was a musical.
Now, I'm not going to be able to see this in Canada. Where will you anticipate this will be available? Something like this at some point.
I talking to the director. They're hoping for streaming and physical media later this year.
So VOD.
Right, yeah, VOD,
TVOD at some point, or AVOD, or
probably, yeah. So unfortunately, you can't see it yet, but it is what I watched this past week. Another one that you can see that is out on streaming now on Amazon is called Craving. It is a creature feature, and basically the story with it is a group of addicts. They go into a bar and they're looking to rob the bar, but they're also on the run from someone who's hunting them, because one of the addicts has a dark secret, and it's a creature feature. So you can kind of put it together, but it's got Felissa Rose in it from Sleepaway Camp. She is in there for a little bit. There's a few other known indie folks in there. Is director Jay Horton. It's out now on streaming, and it's really good. It's a really interesting feature. The special effects in the third act are amazing for a film of this type. And again, I will always carry the indie flag. I could recommend wide release films, but I try to push out indie films, and this is one of them that it's done on a smaller budget, but where they put their money was very effective. The characters are interesting. You could tell they're having a lot of fun making it. And the ending was a bit surprising, and it's got a fun end credit sequence as well, where the monster's kind of wreaking havoc over things. So it's very bloody and gory. So if you're not into blood and gore, you may not want to, but otherwise, Craving is one of those films that I would recommend, because it's an example of what you have out there now for indie cinema that people are doing.
Would you say it's like suspenseful, or more towards comedy, or like it's in its tonality kind of? I'm curious. It sounds good. That's why
in its tonality, it has a bit of camp in it towards the end, but for the most part, it's played straight. It's a serious kind of thriller, I would say. Cool. Kind of a gory thriller of sorts. You get flashbacks for the characters to find out their history, what led them to this point, so to speak. And so there's a lot of tension-filled moments, interesting moments. The dialogue overall is actually pretty solid. But again, nice. You just got to go into it that it is an independent film production. And I think it's unfortunate that some people can't.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from, with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Look away from the indie film, the smaller budget aesthetic, and see what's actually there, which is a lot of great performances. And yeah, the makeup in the end, a lot of gore, wild gore gimmicks in there. It's a lot. Yeah. So that's my two picks would be, yeah.
All right. I'm going to keep mine also to two films. I recently rewatched the 1993 film from director Rowdy Herrington, Striking Distance.
Wow.
Man, I've never seen that. I've always wanted to see that.
Wow, that's
Bruce Willis. Yeah.
I went deep.
That's a deep Bruce Willis.
I did this for a couple of reasons. First, there's the sad news, from a couple of weeks ago, of Bruce Willis's condition. And I simply wanted to see him, and one that I hadn't seen in ages. Plus, we tragically lost Tom Sizemore a couple weeks ago, and I distinctly remember him turning in one of those larger-than-life performances in this. So I really just wanted to sit back and take in a big, dumb action film. And I probably could have honored both of these actors with something much better. This film isn't good. It's not good.
I do remember a boat chase at the very end. I remember the end. I've seen the end.
It's a very conventional story about tracking down a serial killer in Pittsburgh. Sam, I feel you had a much better time watching a different Rowdy Herrington film a couple weeks ago with Roadhouse, which I probably should have watched instead. Should I presume?
Roadhouse is great because it appeals to your lizard brain. It's like, do you like beautiful women? Check. Do you like cars? Check. Do you like beer? Check. Come on down to Roadhouse and watch a fight. All right. The movie is Roadhouse does not take itself too seriously, and it's ultra campy and ridiculously violent to the point where it is.
I think that's one of the problems with Striking Distance is that it does kind of take itself as a serious action film. There's very little humor in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember that because I was in my Bruce Willis phase when I was in 93. I was 12. I was really into Die Hard 1 and 2 back then. I remember seeing the poster for Striking Distance and being like, oh man, that looks awesome. I got to see that. And then I missed it. But it was during that time where I was so into those movies.
And it was sandwiched between some other decent movie. I mean, Die Hard 3 was right around the corner, and it was just right after The Last Boy Scout. So I could have done so many better things with my life that day. But
did Striking Distance, did it have any good action choreography? No,
I mean it's on a boat. It's like Speed 2. It's on a boat, and the villain is underwhelming. It's got some really good. I mean, it's got Dennis Farina in it. It's got some good character actors in it, and Tom Sizemore has a fun role in it, but it's small. But no, I don't recommend it, and I remember nothing about it, which is why I kind of want to see it. I remember I saw this growing up, and was it good? Was it not good? No. So, anyways, but hey, you know what? Check that off. Now I remember.
There you go.
So, anyways,
well, that was during that weird time for Bruce Willis between Die Hard 2 and Pulp Fiction. He was trying to do something a bit different during that time because everybody takes sequels for granted. In the 80s, I remember this interview they did with Bruce Willis. It was when Kevin Smith, when they did Live Free or Die Hard, when Kevin Smith actually interviewed him in one of the behind the scenes type of featurettes. And Bruce Willis said in the 80s, they didn't know how to do sequels. If you weren't Spielberg or Lucas, you really didn't plan for sequels. No. All your films were one-off. So that's why Die Hard 2 borrowed from the book 88 Minutes, I think it was, because they didn't know how to really do sequels. And so after Die Hard 2 didn't do as good, we're not going to make another one. So Bruce is like, well, now what do I do?
Right.
Quick random comment that I promise, but just the Die Hard 2 is I enjoyed a lot, but it's hilarious because the first one he's trapped in the building. The second movie, the script in that comes up with reason after reason to keep him at the airport. Because anytime you can leave, it's like, no, your car got towed. Your wife's on the plane. He's like, I got to help. I just got to fight these guys. It's like anytime you could kick back, let the police handle it, and just like have a drink. But he doesn't because he's like, it's the Die Hard, Anyway, yeah.
Anyways, the other thing I'll mention is I must have really been in the mood for serial killers the past week because I also checked out a new original from Hulu titled Boston Strangler. This stars Keira Knightley, Carrie Coon, Alessandro Nivola, and Chris Cooper, and it's from writer-director Matt Ruskin. Yes, it's about the Boston Strangler killings that took place in the 1960s. Full disclosure, I'm a sucker for films about investigative journalism. The Post, Spotlight, and the granddaddy of them all the President's Men is probably the greatest of them all.
Incredible. Yeah.
In fact, I best describe this film as All the President's Men meets David Fincher's Zodiac is probably the best way. I imagine the pitch in the executive's office is like, picture All the President's Men meets Zodiac. That is really the pitch for this movie. And it's really good. It's really good because it has that investigative journalism aspect to it with Keira Knightley and Carrie Coon doing all of that investigative, wonderful, on the beat looking for this killer. But it's really got some awesome, tense moments in this movie. Not as good as Zodiac. For that, because this isn't David Fincher. This is not David Fincher's Zodiac.
It's not David Fincher. Yeah,
it's not nearly as good, but it is going for that style of tension, and it does have some moments that are absolutely is almost like a facsimile of some of those scenes from it. It's not nowhere near as scary or as tense, but it's pretty darn good still. So I do recommend it. So that's Boston Strangler, and that's streaming on Hulu. So I'd say honestly, it might be my favorite movie of the year. That's how much I liked it.
So it's because it just came out this year, right? Like you said, because I think
past week.
I've seen social media chatter of like Boston casting and extras. Like I think a lot of local.
I saw like half a dozen people, local actors I recognized in it. So yeah,
that's so cool.
It was fun. It was fun seeing some faces I know. Yeah. All right. So those are the couple films that I saw that at least one of them I recommend. All right. It is time to get to our featured review, which was 65.
Location unknown.
Charter 373. This is Commander Mills. My ship was hit by an undocumented asteroid. Transporting 35 passengers on a long-range exploratory mission. Send help. We've crash landed on an uncharted celestial body. I don't know where we are. I've located one survivor. A child. The atmosphere is breathable. There's something alien out there.
Let me tell you something.
And it's
move over Jaws, move over Close Encounters. 65, favorite film of all time. Just kidding, I'm being sarcastic.
I'd like you to know that I held off on my Movie Man's Movie Minute for 65 just for the show. So I have not given my opinion yet.
It's okay. We're not competing with you, Mark. All right. Apparently the people have spoken as well. And
I don't quite know. I don't quite know how to do this because my opinion is directly tied. There are specific spoilers that are some of the reason that this movie has problems, but I won't get into that yet. But I'm looking forward to it because this movie, man.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just talk. Yeah. Give like a paragraph or a couple sentences on our general thoughts, spoiler free, on 65, and then we're gonna have our spoiler bumper, and then we can. You can tear this movie to shreds, whatever you want to do, okay? Because I think we all have some opinions on this. So let's get into it. Who is chomping on the bit to go first on this?
I will chime in, and on spoiler free, I will say I wanted to like this movie because the concept of it, Adam Driver, great actor, and like being stuck on Earth 65 million years ago, dinosaurs. I've also enjoyed point A to B movies where you have to like traverse the distance to get somewhere. So it had a lot going for it. And I will say politely that there are some decent scenes in the middle that I enjoy. And I like the fact that I like the location shooting aspect of it, that it wasn't all CG, that they were in like luscious forests and beaches. But beyond that, that's about it. And I cannot say this movie was very good. And overall, I feel bad because I think Adam Driver is a great actor, but this screenplay and this movie that has a concept that could have been so cool and tells it in the most like humorless, listless way possible. I had the theater to myself for 20 minutes, and then at the 20-minute mark, like a kid and like their parents came in and they were like, popcorn, and I was like, hey, it got worse. Yeah. So I'm not a fan of the film. I wanted to like it. It's my kind of movie in theory. I love dinosaurs. I like a lot of the Jurassic Park movies unrelated. It had a concept going for it, but the storytelling, the execution, I'd have to say like a C- D+ maybe. Yeah. That's my spoiler-free opinion.
All right, Mark. Unleash on the world.
I always try, and I've been told I'm soft on films. I always try to bring the positive to reviews because it's really easy to take almost any movie, even like Godfather 2 or whatnot. You can find bad flaws. There's some websites out there that are hysterical where they're bad reviews of great movies. Right.
Yeah.
Godfather 3 is the best one. Just kidding.
Okay. Everybody has their likes. That's fine with me. No, but this is like a Mad Libs sci-fi film in which they basically took your basic sci-fi script and made a very basic sci-fi film that didn't need these actors, especially Adam Driver, in it. I did enjoy the tension-filled moments, and that is because this is from the folks who gave us The Quiet Place and A Quiet Place 2. And they know how to do tension. And I loved those films quite a bit. Now, this is the first time that they're in the director's chair and they did the script, which I think if they were going to direct something, they should have directed somebody else's material. Just because the tone is all over the place in this film as well. You don't know, is it supposed to be a little bit more campy? Is it supposed to be more heartfelt? There's a scene, we'll get into the spoilers later, but there's one particular scene in here where I was like, well, that just gave me all kinds of confusing thoughts of how I'm supposed to have this film. It's like it
reminded me, and this is totally not spoiler, but like literally in terms of, you're talking about weird tonality, like Adam Driver sitting by a creek bed. They're both sitting there. It's a quiet moment. She looks at him and he's like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's one of those things where I like the production design. I like the ship designs. I'm kind of like you with that. There's so much of this film that I should really enjoy. It's just that the story is so basic. It almost feels like they're trying to catch in on the Father Pascal effect, which is what I call it. We've got Mandalorian. We've got Last of Us, Pedro Pascal. You've got the story of a father figure with a younger companion that they're protecting or traveling with. And you have that here. You get some subplot that they breeze through fairly quickly, and you never really feel it with Adam. He's giving emotion, but you're not feeling it at all. You feel like he's going through the motions, and there's just a lot of confusing decisions they make with this story that it should be a very basic from point A to point B story, but they seem to try to we're going to be a little bit more creative. And in the end, it falls flat. This film falls flat. For me, it wasn't horrible to watch. I think 35% on Rotten Tomatoes is a little bit harsh.
Yeah.
It's not horrible to watch. It is watchable. It is somewhat enjoyable, though they pick dinosaurs you've never seen before, which is a bold move for the most part that you haven't really seen before, which, mad props to them. The special effects look decent and all, but it's also one that's going to be forgettable and kind of fade to where you're going to watch it. Oh, that was all right. And never watch it again.
Right. Exactly. It evaporated when I left the theater.
So that's my feelings on it. It's middle of the road. I can't give it a completely bad rating. I go by a stub rating, film stubs, but on a scale of 1 to 5, I would probably give it almost a 3, like a 2.75. So not quite 3, where 3 is definitely, go see it at an early show. Not quite. I'd wait for streaming, but it perfectly fine watching it on streaming. This is a perfectly acceptable material to watch on a streaming channel,
And the suspense is I hear you on the suspense, and that's the part I like, and that's what's decent. But I think the only way to truly love this movie, if to give it a 10+ rating, is if you just watch it completely hammered like that.
with friends, you gotta have friends.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Friends and alcohol will make this film so much more entertaining.
Right, yeah, because alone at a hotel or in New York would be very sad. You don't want to watch that thing.
I watched this pretty much in an empty theater as well, so it was. I felt pretty sad. So, all right, I'll share my. I'll try to keep this brief. My thoughts on 65 is that this is I'm going to agree with Sam. This is a pretty bad film. There's very little I can pick out of this as being good. I'm trying to think of what I did enjoy about this. Adam Driver, he's an attractive man.
He is.
That's about
true,
what I'll say.
True, yeah.
There you go.
He is. He has some eye candy on there.
Yeah.
He is.
So better him riding that horse in those cologne commercials than me. I'll just say that.
That's about as far as I'll give the film. But the ingredients just aren't here. They tried. I mean, they did try. On paper, I'm sure the studio executives were like, "Hey, space epic, check. Dinosaurs, check. We can get Adam Driver, one of Hollywood's biggest stars. He was in those Star Wars movies. Those were sci-fi, right? Each one of those made $1 billion, right? Check."
Even the studio executive probably said, "Make sure he has the same Kylo Ren haircut too."
Right. We've even got the team of writers who turned A Quiet Place, a meager $17 million sci-fi horror film, into a global smash hit that is now a franchise. Check. Mm-hmm. So, like I said before, on paper, it's all there. But unfortunately, just like the 2013 Los Angeles Lakers, all that talent doesn't translate into a championship.
Nice.
So I'm gonna lambaste this film because practically every part of the filmmaking I found subpar here. But the most egregious crimes I found to be the editing and the cinematography, actually. And the story itself, yes, I found conventional, but we'll get into the story and the writing a little bit more when we get into spoilers. But the movie clocks in at 97 minutes. And if you don't include the credits, it's closer to 92 minutes. I'm guessing the studio knew they had a stinker on their hands, and they understood the only hope that this film had was to cut this down to the shortest possible length possible, because the editing is choppy. The characters arrive in locations, and they feel so disconnected from where they just came from. And I remember there's a scene where Mills and Koa. And I don't care if this is giving away anything right now.
I don't even remember their names. Like, you remember their names.
Well,
That's amazing.
I looked it up. I looked it up.
Yeah.
And they're in this pit. And I guess the T-Rex or whatever it is, because I don't know. I don't think it was a T-Rex in the end. It arrives and they just leave. They cut away, and there's no. They undercut the tension of that moment. And
yes, they crawl into the hole in the back of the cave, but it's
I'm not even
unclear.
getting to the cave. I'm about to get to the cave, because the cave scene. I don't even want to talk about the cave scene yet, because that's kind of a spoiler area. Well, maybe I will get to it. But the other thing is, the editing creates a lot of chaos in this movie that I completely lose any sense of the geography, where they are in relation to each other, where they are on the planet. Well, I guess it's Earth. It is Earth. This is especially noticeable later in the film where they are in the cave. This film looks like trash to me. Everything is dimly lit, and I know that.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire, with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.
Possibly was intentional, but even the day scenes, the dinosaurs don't look fully rendered to me. That's the other thing. I don't think the special effects are good. I have a feeling
there was one shot on the beach where the dinosaurs were under brighter light, and I was like, "Ooh, you might want to render that." The resolution, I noticed that. Yeah.
I know they couldn't compete with films like the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World franchise, because this movie was done on a third of the budget. I understand that's not what they weren't working with the same money, but obviously they were hiding these dinosaurs for most of the movie. Very few money shots in this film. All of this could be forgivable if the story, I think, was held together better, which it isn't. So I think that's all I'm going to say, and we'll get into spoilers now.
I see. So for me, with this movie, one reviewer hilariously wrote how the dinosaurs very conveniently show up in little segmented bits. Like, oh, here's the dinosaurs for the hill. Here's a beach dinosaur. But for me, in terms of spoilers, the opening of this movie and the characterization of Adam Driver and his daughter at the beginning was the most maudlin, ridiculous. Like you open this movie and in texts they're saying this is the universe before humanity, and it's and there's another planet called Mandarella Bella Bella, and it's you go over there. I thought the way the story was introduced, the plot asked you to be on board with something so ludicrous.
Time out. Let's talk about this other planet. This is a race of aliens.
Yeah.
That
ridiculous.
are look and sound just like humans, right?
It could happen.
This okay. This could happen.
It could happen.
But time out here. I mean, so the planet was planet Sumaris. What makes them alien? They seem to be human. They are exactly like us in every single West. They dress like we do in 2023. They speak
that
English
opening scene,
with
they're
modern
on the
day
beach.
Human colloquialisms.
That's what I'm saying.
They say shit. I don't understand what makes them alien. There's nothing about them that seemed the least bit unique to them being a different race, unless they are humans.
effort
but there's nothing
whatsoever.
explains to them that makes them the least bit different from us the human race in 2023.
Their writing was different. Come on now. Their text was completely different.
Their text was different. But that's what I mean about the setup. The setup of the story is so thin, and here we see these two characters on a beach. We're asked to swallow. This is another planet, another society. It's so thinly drawn. You know what I honestly thought?
They have a slightly different mountain range. That's all I know that's different.
And I think this would have been better. And I thought this was what was going to happen. I thought the story was that Adam Driver was from the future, like 300 years, and then went through a wormhole by accident and crash landed on what he thought was a different planet. But it's like, oh shit, I'm in the past. I could have swallowed that. I don't mind it being this plot, but the way it was set up and the beginning was so dead on arrival that for me, the most hilarious guffaw-inducing part was when what felt like 40 million years into the movie already, the opening title says 65. And then it pauses, and then it goes million years ago. And it's supposed to be so heavy. It's supposed to be a surprise. Like you're supposed to be like, oh my God. And it's just the storytelling. For me, the storytelling and the setup was so bad that even though I did enjoy the suspense and some of the dinosaur sequences in the muddy midsection that Mark was talking about, where there was some decent tension, the setup for the characters was so thin that it was hard for me to be on board for the rest of the movie. And lastly, I'll say I was dozing towards the end, but I knew that there was going to be I knew there was going to be one like decent CGI shot of the asteroid hitting Earth. I knew that was coming. I was like, I hope I wake up for that. And so when they're fighting and they're like fighting dinosaur, I started to drift and I didn't fall asleep. But when you're like sort of beginning to fall asleep and things just hazy, I snapped right back into consciousness and I saw the asteroid hit. I got my CGI shot. Then I left the theater and I was like, all right.
It's definitely one of those to where they did not need to be aliens. I am with you. When I first
it's a weird device. Yeah.
When I saw that it was, when I saw the trailer, I thought for sure it was someone from the future ended up getting sucked through a wormhole or something due to an experiment or a malfunctioned ship. And he ends up on a planet. And then you end up soon realizing, oh, wait, I'm on Earth 65 million years ago. That makes far more sense than what we get.
Yeah.
And if you are going to do what they did, in all honesty, cut out that section where you're introducing his family. Start with him on the ship, add a little bit of him going through a daily routine, taking care of people in their cryopods, and then having something happen and then crash. You could even cut out that first bit because we get the flashbacks through the digital slideshow, because it's literally slides, but they're videos, but they're still slides. I'm like, they're an advanced technology, yet they're still using anyway. You could, there's many other ways you could set this up to where it would make everything that happens after it more acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The hook, it was so flat. And so that text was hilarious at the beginning. The like text crawl, whatever you call it, it's like 65 million years ago. And like, it was just the movie had for me just low energy all around. It was very I felt like it was like the kind of movie that you watch on like a Sunday afternoon in a nursing home or something like that. I don't know. And that's a really lowbrow comment, and I apologize. But yeah,
your waiting room.
My apologies. There's nothing wrong with nursing rooms. Yeah,
you've got it in the dentist waiting room.
The dentist waiting room. That's what I meant to say. Yeah,
dentist waiting room. Yeah, no, but that's the tough part of it is it has all the elements to make for at least an interesting, fun little adventure. When I saw the runtime, I loved it. I am so tired of 2-hour movies. I am so tired of 2.5 hour, 3-hour movies.
I don't have a problem with the runtime, but as I was saying before, it's clear that they probably had a movie that was well over 2 hours long, and they just chopped it to hell. And it's so like there's so many things that I felt were threads that were dangled that we have no explanation for, like the bug that's in that girl's mouth. Like it was like obviously had to have been set up somewhere before that this thing existed somewhere, and there's no consequences to it. It's not set up prior to it, and it's never explained, and it's just left. And it's moments like that just make me feel like they just didn't care enough about their audience to even explain this. They just chop it to hell because no one's going to care. And that makes me upset that they put that product out there with scenes like that mean nothing.
And because you were taken out of it and there's no connective tissue, it increases that flat feeling. I don't mind simple concepts like a predator hunting a person in the woods, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Very simple, straightforward plot. I love that. I don't mind. I love simple thrillers, but there's a big difference between simple and flat, which is what this movie was. It's just like flatline the whole way. There's no pacing. There might have been an average movie somewhere in here. But the editing killed this, and there's so like the editing in the cave was terrible. And like at one point you see that they're in the cave, and there's actually a medium-sized dinosaur following them at one point. Right? Yes.
It's never paid off. It never comes after them.
It does at the end. But you only see most of that through the digital display. You don't actually get to see the full thing because it's not exactly lighted, because she goes through the cave, it collapses, he's stuck behind, he's got his little sensor thing out. How he got out of the cave, I have no freaking
By the way,
idea.
he uses explosives in a cave.
Yeah.
What is up with that?
I was thinking that. Like, it's like, oh, do you want the roof to fall on your head, you idiot? Like, what are you doing?
What is up like that? The decisions in this movie are just absurd. And like, he should have killed them with that thing. They should be dead. Although that little technology, that the device that he has I would say the one thing I did like, his device was pretty cool. That
his device is cool, and there was like little production design things that were cool, like when they were sleeping and they had the ring of like cylinders, and it was like and it.
You know what though?
I thought
Jurassic
that was cool.
Park did it much better with a glass of water.
Oh, infinitely better. I think they probably created that and didn't do the water because they knew they didn't want to rip off Jurassic Park. They're like, let's try a sensor device instead. You know.
See, and I'm not sure how much is actually on the editing room floor and how much of this was just rushed, because again, I think they're trying to cash in on the whole adult escorting a child and the whole father-child bond thing, possibly. It's weird that Raimi was in production, part of the one of the executive producers for this.
Yeah,
you know, and it might have helped if he had Baby Yoda with him instead.
Yeah. Can we talk about what I mentioned about tone? If anyone wants a prime example of how to give your audience the most confusing tone of a film possible, can we talk about Baby, the Secret of a Lost Legend moment that we had in here, where
I love that film,
where the girl runs across a baby dinosaur who's caught in tar.
Mm-hmm.
They spend a good chunk of the sequence rescuing
Yes.
baby dinosaur. It's actually handled in a very heartfelt moment. You're like, oh, you know, it actually was that point in the film. I'm like, oh, that's, I like this sequence.
Yes.
We give the characters a little bit of depth. We can see that she wants to help the dinosaur, gives us insight on her. That's great. Dinosaur takes 10 steps, gets eaten by some psychocomp, dime store psychocomps, you know, or whatever, little dinosaurs. And I'm like, and it's handled in like a serious death. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to be feeling here? And then he just ushers her away like, yeah, we got to go. You know, that's just, you know, that's nature. Let's go.
It's a circle of life. Yeah. But
why did he lie about her parents?
Up the mountain. I
she's
don't know.
not. It's not like she's going to stay at the spaceship regardless if her parents are there or not. She's going to go with them because she's scared of the dinosaurs along the way. She's going to go with them regardless. So why lie to him and try to play that angle, which never really goes anywhere?
It's like the short comedic version of The Lion King, where he's like, "Hey, Dad, we're pals, right? Right. And we'll be together forever, right? Right." And then it just cuts to the shot of him falling to his death. Hakuna Matata, the end.
I got one other bone to pick. Goddamn quicksand. Seriously.
Oh, my God.
This is... We're making movies in 2023. We have a movie where someone almost dies falling into quicksand. I wanted to walk out of the movie. And you know how he was saved? A girl sticks a branch into the quicksand and pulls him out. Because that's how it's done.
That's why I said it was a Mad Libs movie. They literally took the most generic sci-fi plots and the generic sci-fi elements and threw them in this film.
They also use that like directorially twice, where it zooms in on him and he sinks, and it's just a shot of just the quicksand. They had that happen to something like that happened to him before, where you think someone's dead, and it's like, oh, he got rescued. Yeah.
Was it a couple weeks ago? You were saying you were hoping that like the main character is just walking along, all of a sudden he just like falls off the cliff and dies.
Yeah,
like this was the moment, like maybe just Adam Driver just dies here.
If he died and then it was just her and she like taught herself how to use his weapons and stuff, and she's like shooting the dinosaurs and has to step up to the plate, at least it would be a little original, you know? Like,
well, that's the toughest part, is that they take the path most traveled in this film when they didn't have to. So many opportunities, from the production design to the technology to having it, you know, the setting, the concept, all of it is there. It should work, but they take the path of least resistance with everything in this film.
A bad film can bring down the atmosphere of your evening, so when you walk out of the theater, it still feels like you're in the world of the movie. So I was in like Fall River. It was like dimly lit and like it's like 65 sucked, and this evening is boring. You know, meh, yeah.
Do you guys feel like we're good with discussing this?
I think we properly eviscerated it.
We've properly said, wait for VOD or streaming. It'll be on one of your streaming services that you paid for. You won't have to rent it. It'll probably be added to, you know, whatever channel it is, and you can watch it there, and that's fine. Watch it in your home with, you know, background even or whatnot, or with some friends or whatnot. But it's, if you're going into it thinking, wow, from the guys of A Quiet Place and Quiet Place 2, this is going to be, no, they came up with tension-filled set pieces, and they felt the need to try to string them together somehow. And, you know, and that's what you get is really by the numbers, generic sci-fi, which is sad because sci-fi has grown to be such a big genre now. They should know their audience better than this.
True that. Absolutely. I hear that.
Boy, do you know how to pick up. Let me ask you something. Is this relationship really solid? Do I have a shot at her at all? Excuse me. Sure. Have I overstepped my bounds? Just tell me. Come on. You know what's really beautiful about this? You two kids picked me. You didn't have to, but you picked me. It makes me want to kiss you guys. Come on. Come on. Give me one. Come on. You're hard, huh? All right, let's get down to business. You're right. I got a card around here somewhere. Here. Who do I have to kill? Here, hold that for me, would you? There. Whoa! There you go. You don't have to kill anybody. Possession. Good. Learn to throw your voice. Fool your friends. Fun at parties.
No, we just want to get some people out of our house.
I understand. Well, look, in order to do that, I'm really going to have to get to know you guys. You know, we got to get closer. Move in with you for a while. Get to be real pals. You know what I'm saying? And save that guy for later. Huh?
My wife and I would like to ask you a couple of questions.
Sure. Go ahead, shoot.
Well, for instance, what are your qualifications?
Well, I attended Juilliard. I'm a graduate of the Harvard Business School. I travel quite extensively. I lived through the Black Plague, and I had a pretty good time during that. I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy. Now, what do you think? You think I'm qualified?
You just heard a clip from Beetlejuice, which turns 35 this week. It was released on March 30th, 1988. Obviously one of Tim Burton's most notable and best films. One that put him on the map. And the first of three films, which would be a joint collaboration between him and Michael Keaton. We are still waiting for more information on the long-anticipated follow-up to the comedy horror cult classic Beetlejuice 2, which has been rumored for a long time.
I've always been a fan of Beetlejuice. I love that movie. I think it's my ultimate favorite, like, childhood Tim Burton movie is probably Pee-wee's Big Adventure, just because I learned to ride a bicycle when I saw that movie. So the idea of my bike being stolen, I was like, this is the ultimate adventure. I relate to this character that wants his bike back. But Beetlejuice is great. I've always found it hilarious. The production design, the tone, the comedy. I mean, it's pretty. Honestly, it's a pretty perfect Tim Burton movie. I mean, it has been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it well. And I love Alec Baldwin's performance in it. I love it when the football players have not realized that they crashed when they're waiting. I mean, it's just it's a great movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Learn to throw your voice. Fool your friends. Fun at parties. Hey, these aren't my rules. Come to think of it, I don't have any rules.
It's funny. I saw it growing up. I probably saw it way too young, and so many of the jokes and humor were going way over my head. Oh. And it's one of those movies that you revisit as an adult, and it's and it's you can enjoy it on many levels. And every time I see it, I am finding new jokes in it that I am getting at a more mature age. So it's so wonderful.
It's amazing. I do remember, when I saw it again when in my late 20s, early 30s, I was like, "Oh my god, this is brilliant!" And a lot went over my head when I was looking. I just liked all the visuals and the ghosts and the creepy stuff,
Yeah, this hit in '88, so I was 13, so I was at the prime age for it. Yeah, I'm old.
Oh wow!
But but if you ever want an example of what a Tim Burton film is from start to finish, where he has creative control and it is completely Burton, full of Burtonisms and everything, it is Beetlejuice. Danny Elfman's score is wonderful. I love Danny Elfman. I'm such a Danny Elfman stan. I don't care. I love his music. I love his Beetlejuice score. It is amazing. Mm-hmm. The cast knows what types of film they're making, and they're all in on this. Like you said, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, you hadn't seen them in roles like this. Michael Keaton in a role you hadn't really seen him before, because we were used to seeing him in roles like Gung Ho. Right. Here he's this vulgar, obnoxious character that still has a bit of heart. I will say to this day that Beetlejuice actually does have a little bit of heart to him, and only because of one scene, the way he plays it. But I love this film, but it is true Burton 100%. I'm a big Burton fan as well, and I love this film. Watched it many times, have the soundtrack on tape and on CD. The special effects for when it came out were perfect, were fitting for the day.
It's
for sure.
Perfect for what it is. Exactly. You can look back now and see it as being dated, but I wouldn't want it any other way for this kind of movie. So it still works. And it's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna say it's comedic, but it's also delightfully creepy and kind of
it is
spooky and a little bit chilling and a fun. I always got kind of a shiver in some scenes in a good way when I was a kid. I was like, oh, this is creepy.
I really hope that they do get this sequel together, but I really hope that they stay true to kind of the old school production practical effects. I don't know. I have a feeling that with Tim Burton, it won't be a CGI fest. I hope they don't do that. No. And I have hope. And Danny Elfman is attached as the composer for it, of course. I don't know. There's no release date yet. The only person that is attached is technically just Burton and Elfman. Jenna Ortega is.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.
Winona Ryder as well, I'm told, she's because Jenna Ortega is going to play Winona Ryder's daughter.
Interesting.
I can't
It'd
wait.
It'd be so sad and horrible though if they
I just want them to get it together and make this happen so badly.
I hope they do too. It sounds like it's looking like it. It would just be sad if they like really miscast it. And
this has been in the works for like 10 years or more. So I mean,
well, at least it's been in development hell forever. So many people attached, kind of like the Crow remake, which is finally apparently going to make it to light, unfortunately or fortunately. But yeah, I think with Jenna Ortega on it and supposedly Winona Ryder involved or in talks as well, it will probably happen because Jenna Ortega is the it girl right now in Hollywood. She's because Wednesday blew up, which was wonderful. I loved her in that, but she's been in a lot of things. She's showing up in a lot more things now. And Winona Ryder coming off of Stranger Things popularity as well. I foresee this probably happening sooner than later.
All right. Let's go on to our recommendation shelf. Mark, want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
It's probably an unusual recommendation, but it's a movie that I've long since enjoyed and I will definitely stand behind. It's a Disney film, but it's called Dinosaur. It is from 2000.
I saw
it. Has, for when it came out in 2000, if you watch this, the special effects still hold up today. They do what they did when they did when National Geographic did its special with the dinosaurs, Walk with the Dinosaurs.
Walking with Dinosaurs.
Came out around the same time or just after. Anyway, they take live action scenes like environments and they stick CGI creatures in it, almost all CGI, and it's hard to tell. They do almost like a Roger Rabbit of sorts with it, but with CGI dinosaurs. It has a little bit of it blows me my brain just right now. But the dinosaur cartoon series that there's like 11 of them that pull at your heart with the
Land Before Time.
Land Before Time. Thank you. It's kind of in that spirit, but done a lot better. But it's got a great story. The special effects are great. It's got a wonderful score to it. And just because it's a kid's movie doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. But Dinosaur from 2000, I recommend it because it surprises me. And I watch it occasionally now. To this day, the effects for when it came out are pretty damn impressive.
I remember seeing that in the summer of 2000. I remember some spectacular visuals, but I cannot remember it in full detail due to the possible enjoyment of perhaps herbal remedies. So I remember there was some spectacular dinosaurs. Yeah.
It's got a great vocal cast too. DB Sweeney, Juliana Margulis. Ossie Davis does a voice in here. Hayden Panettiere does a voice in here. It's like this, but what's funny is it's kind of this film in that Disney weird era where they came out with a number of films that kind of fell under the radar because Pixar did what Pixar did. And Disney had these other animated projects that kind of people were like, well, it's not Pixar. Treasure Planet, Atlantis, they had these type of films that were kind of in this limbo that kind of got overlooked. And this is one of them. I really enjoy this film. I don't think it gets as much appreciation as it probably should, not only technically, but just for the story. It's a fun movie. I don't understand why it's not talked more because it's interesting. And like I said, the score, I've listened to that many times. The score, James Newton Howard did it. Dinosaur 2000, Walt Disney's Dinosaur 2000. Check it out if you're looking for a good dinosaur film. That's for kids too. They can enjoy it. A little heavy, gets a little dark, but yeah.
Bring the tissues. All right.
A little bit, yeah.
All right, Sam, what do you got?
There are a lot of other prehistoric movies that I like, but I just wanted to mention this one because I feel like it technically counts. I was going to go with Spielberg's second Jurassic Park film, The Lost World, because in the sense that unlike the first film where it's a park, in this film, the kind of dinosaurs are sort of running wild, so it sort of implies they're going into like a primeval ecosystem. And I would say I wanted to mention it because I feel like this Jurassic Park film is it's not necessarily forgotten, but it's always regarded as one of the lesser Jurassic Park films when compared to others. And I feel it gets a little bit of a bad rap because I actually enjoy it a lot. I think it's uneven in parts, but there are just a lot of really exciting, suspenseful kind of Spielbergian sequences. I like it's the first Jurassic Park with Janusz Kaminski as the cinematographer. So the first one is very bright and tropical and Hawaii. And this movie is all rainy and night and mud. And I know that the girl, the scene where his daughter like doing gymnastics and like kicking a raptor out a window, like everyone hates on that. I get it. It's a little bit silly. It never bothered me that much. But I will say in terms of like proper Jurassic thrills that the movie definitely delivers them. I will say, though, that my one complaint is even though there's an ending sequence in San Diego, which is really amusing, that's really stuffed into the third act. And you can kind of feel maybe like Steven Spielberg getting a little bit greedy. He's like, well, I know we were going to do the city in the third movie, but I got to do something in the city. So it's okay, but it feels tacked on. The original plan was to have them escape the island in helicopters in the rain with a pterodactyl attack that was like complex and involved like a big set piece. I probably would have preferred that because I like that movie while it's on the island. When it leaves the island, it's okay, but I just don't quite feel set up for the San Diego action. And so it's amusing, but it just feels like an overstuffed third act. So not a great movie, but I just wanted to mention it in case someone hasn't seen it in a while and wants to go revisit it because I think it's better than a lot of people remember. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I'll totally agree with you. It's fine until they get to the city.
Yeah.
That's where it loses me. It literally loses me when they get to the city. When I first saw this, I was like, awesome. And then we're like, wait, what are we doing on the dock? Wait, what's this scene? What are we? And then the next, there's like this 10-minute sequence at the end where I was in the theater. I remember going, wait, what?
Yeah, it really jumps the shark. I mean, talk about jumping the shark. It's as jumping of a shark as you can get.
And I think, the funny thing is, I think a lot of people only remember the climax of that movie. I only remembered the climax of that movie, and I forget the first 2/3 of the movie and how really good it is. Because I only remember that T-Rex coming out of the boat and wreaking havoc in San Diego and how stupid it is.
It's so stupid at the end, but the visuals of the film are cool because they shot a bunch of the island. They actually shot in Northern California, so there's redwood forests. It just has a different feel than the first movie. It's a little bit. It's not that people always say it's a darker sequel. It's not really that much darker, but it is. Its tone is just a bit more vicious in some scenes. And then when the two T-Rexes push the trailers off the cliff, I like that sequence. So I like that movie's island adventure because of the two teams and everything falls apart. But yeah, the third act is really what brings that movie down.
Well, and you get that wonderful bit with the hunters too, with the specific hunter hunting the T-Rex. There's a lot of great moments up until they leave the island.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool subplots, and there's a lot of fun chaos where they have to group together because all their equipment's been destroyed, and they're like trekking across the island in rain and mud, and there's cool adventures. Kind of, it's the beats are not too predictable in that movie for me. When they're on the island, I always get this sense of possibility, like adventure and danger is everywhere, and I get that each time I watch the movie. So it holds up for me.
Yeah. And again,
the first one is a classic, of course. The first one's obviously like the king, but I just wanted to mention the Lost World. Yeah.
And again, naming conventions. Like, I hate the fact that it's called the Lost World Jurassic Park. Like,
it
doesn't fit on a DVD shelf. The right.
And what's even more hilarious is when they came out with the book. The book is a sequel to the movie and not the book, because spoilers, folks, Mr. Ian Malcolm is Velociraptor bait in the book. I don't read a lot of books. But the books I did read, I read Jurassic Park. And so when I saw that Lost World was a book, I'm like, oh, that's a sequel to the movie, not the book, because your main character is like in the first few pages. You're like, no, he's dead. He's like, he's dead. Hammond's dead. I mean, they barely get off the island before it gets like napalm.
I remember that because I read the second book as well, and he was like, "Oh, wait, he was spent some time in the hospital." He was just like all backtracking, like just backing himself into a corner with a paragraph, like, "Oh, the wound's healed, amazing," and you're like, "No, you resurrected the character, and we know it." You know.
My recommendation for this week is Iceman from 1984. It's directed by Fred Schapisi. Hope I said that right. I don't know. And written by John Dimmer. I had a feeling this show was going to be dino-centric, so I felt obligated to be a little different here and recommend something a little out of the box. So Iceman is about the discovery of a prehistoric man who had been frozen for 40,000 years in the Arctic. A group of scientists thaw him out with the intention of examining the body, chopping him up, giving him an autopsy. But to their surprise, the man is alive and he's put into captivity. Only a handful of scientists are sympathetic to this man's feelings of him being a science experiment. So Timothy Hutton is in this as the scientist who befriends the caveman, and his name is Charlie in this, and the caveman's name is Charlie. And this is really one of Timothy Hutton's better and more underrated performances in his career, I think. This movie could have been really cheesy and have a very heavy-handed message. However, the filmmakers handle everything, I think, with a lot of sensitivity. And I got to give a shout-out to John Lone, who plays Charlie and gives such a rich performance as the Neanderthal. It's actually a kind of a really poetic performance, I feel. So that's Iceman, and it's available for rent on VOD. Have either of you seen this?
I have not seen it, and I don't even know if I've heard of it, to be honest. I'm intrigued.
I saw this in the theater growing up. My parents took me to see this because they took me to see everything when I was a kid.
I saw it on cable, and for the theme and what it is, it's interesting how straight they play this film.
It is,
but I think that's
very
where
earnest.
it worked. Again, 80s. It's not just because I grew up in the 80s. The 80s was definitely an interesting time in cinema. Even though you had the 60s and 70s, I would say the 80s are very interesting time of them trying new things, because ever since Jaws, which was the reason why I was born, came out, and Spielberg, there's a story. I don't want to go too long, but Jaws showing the blockbuster and what a movie could do. Yeah. It launched this just really interesting film renaissance to where they were trying different things. And Iceman is one of those, to where it's actually a serious story looking into Neanderthal man and a lot of different subplots and themes going on in it. It's not, I will say it's not a mind blowing film, but it is an interesting,
it's so unique
film. Yeah.
And without the 1980s, we wouldn't have gotten the film Nuki.
Right. Yeah.
Nathan, have you heard that? Seriously, Google N-U.
Oh, Nuki. Oh my God.
N-U-K-I-E. It is just I think it's like a South African E.T. ripoff.
Yeah, it is. It is totally.
Roger Ebert is one of his least favorite films of all time. And this is terrible. Nuki, 1987.
That's the joys of the video explosion too, as they needed content, so we got a lot of interesting films.
Yeah,
I saw the trailer for that. It is awful.
It is awful. It is awful.
It's South Africa.
Even the guys at Red Letter Media, they dedicated a review to it, and they didn't even enjoy it. They're like, "What we just they they filmed themselves watching it. They're like, we hate this."
It's not good. It is not good. No.
All right, so those are our recommendations this week. And that brings us to, we're close to wrapping things up. But before we do, we're just going to I'm going to mention a few of the current releases. Out in wide release over the past week was Scream 6. This is the 6th installment in the Scream franchise. Haven't had a chance to see it yet. The survivors of the Ghostface killings leave Woodsboro behind and start a fresh chapter in New York City, starring Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Mason Gooding, Courtney Cox. Anyone seen that yet?
I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to see it. I'm a little bit behind.
Mark's, of course, Mark's on top of that.
I try. I will say it has a lot more great moments than bad moments. Yep. There is a bit of suspension of disbelief in it. I've been on a couple of podcasts talking about where we dedicated to talking about it, and overall, I will say it's fun. It's an interesting legacy sequel. They do a lot of cool creative stuff in there. There is some moments of suspension of disbelief, which is very tough to get past, but overall, very fun, very, great to see an R-rated horror film. Sorry, PG-13 ones just don't quite do it for me.
No, I hear that. Yeah.
Most of the time, some do, but yeah, no, it's a fun theater experience. If you're a little leery, at least go to a matinee, but see it in a theater with a group of people. So
I'm looking forward to it. I recently, over the past 2-3 weeks, watched all the previous 5 films. I hadn't seen the 5th one until the past week. I didn't mention what I've been watching, but I just watched the 5th one for the first time. So I am now finally caught up on all of them, and I am ready and primed for Scream 6. I'll probably catch up to it this week.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than 5. So
good, because I wasn't crazy about 5. Anyways, in limited release came out this past week is Inside, directed by Vasilis Katsoupis. Inside stars Willem Dafoe, a high-end art thief who becomes trapped in a New York penthouse after his heist doesn't go as planned. Locked inside with nothing but priceless works of art, he must use all his cunning and invention to survive. I'm actually looking forward to this. This is something that I've been seeing trailers for a while, so that's something I would like to see. Probably is going to come to VOD soon, though. And out in wide release this upcoming weekend, something I know probably we're all really looking forward to is John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah!
Yep.
Yes.
And returning is director Chad Stahelski. Is that how you say it? Stahelski. John has added some new friends to the cast with Donnie Yen, Bill Skarsgård.
So awesome.
That's great. Along with returning cast, Lawrence Fishburne, Ian McShane, and in one of his final roles, Lance Riddick, whom we just learned of his unfortunate passing. This installment, John Wick prepares to exact his revenge against the High Table. I know we're all looking forward to this.
For John Wick 4, if ever it was appropriate to use the slightly dated cool kids term, this movie looks off the chain, because it does. It looks off the chain.
And I've had some critic friends who got to see press screenings, and so far all the buzz I've heard was yes, it's 2 hours and like 49 minutes, but they're like, this
long.
is an awesome action film.
I've heard it's near 3 hours long. Yeah,
it's near
incredible.
3 hours, but it's an awesome action film. They say that it's just insane.
I'm hearing rumors this might be the end of the franchise, that they're really spinning this out.
Most likely.
Yeah.
They're possible
doing a spin-off.
They got Ballerina and what's the other one?
I only know for sure.
Continental? Is there a Continental?
Yeah, the
one?
Continental. There's been talk of the Continental. I'm not sure if they'll go forward with it, given the passing of. It probably still will, but with Lance, unfortunately, it probably won't be the same. But there was talk of the Continental, but I know for sure the Ballerina is happening.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking forward to that one, because that's got Ana de Armas, who, if she's anything like she was in the last Bond film, I'm there. I'm like, shit. Yeah. So,
all right. So that's our show. And before I go, anything else, Mark, you want to, I think you plugged everything earlier in the show. So
I just wanted to say really quick that since this is episode 8 and we've connected things to Star Trek before, since it's episode 8, we are now on the one with the Borg. And that's all I had to say.
Yes.
Nice.
We're eventually going to run out of Star Trek episodes. We're going to have to move on to Hellraiser.
Stargate,
Stargate episodes.
Stargate
there you go.
SP1. Yeah,
you'll be good with Stargate episodes. You've got yourself covered for a while.
Or
there.
Godzilla. They got like 31 of those.
Or no, there's like several Land Before Time sequels. We could always do.
There's 11 altogether.
Well, you know what? If we
Littlefoot and Friends never grow up.
If we go to Next Generation episodes, then we're all set.
There you go.
Yeah. Then we got like 200 and something, 170, whatever it is.
You're good. You're good there.
All right. So, Sam, Mark, especially you, Mark, thank you for filling in this week. It's been a pleasure having you join us. And we invite you to come join us again sometime if we ever have a spot to fill.
I'd be happy to fill in, and this has been a blast. Always love talking movies. It's my passion. And this is a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's show. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Back to the Frame Rate and on Twitter at Back Frame Rate. We still need to get a better handle. You can email us directly at backtotheframerate@gmail.com. Have a great week, everyone.
I want you to know it's over.
Well, bye.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Schedule your showroom consultation and see more from brands like Monogram at build.com/Ferguson.